Boo. I'm kind of sweaty because I was cutting the grass. Rob had a thing and now he's at home. And with
that, good afternoon, everybody. It is the Rob from 106.1 Kiss FM here with my tag team partner in podcasting, the Ramblin' One, Jerry Valeri. Good morning, Jer.
I have grass all over my arms and not the kind I smoked in college. I'm just doing yard work. You gave me a nice little break.
For those people who watch us every week, yeah, don't you sell RVD weed?
What's RVD weed?
Exactly. I meant to point out last week, and because we did one episode from home last week, and here we are again today. I'm snuggling with your blanket a year and a half ago.
I remember I touched it in the package before I mailed it, and it felt kind of soft, but I just figured after one wash it was going to be the softest blanket on the planet.
It's the only one I use. Brittany's got hers here, and then this one we're not allowed to use. It's decorative, and then I use this one.
The blanket behind you, like the 12 pillows that live on my bed that nobody can sleep with. They're just there for decoration. Like anyone goes in our room but us.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But that's the way women work. What do they say? You can't live with them and you can't live without them, something like that.
You can't live with them and you really can't kill them in this day and age without your DNA being all over the place.
Yeah, it's really hard. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing well. I enjoyed Raw last night. I thought it was a great show. I thought it was good. My son and daughter are in for a rude awakening because what they don't realize is this was the last Raw that they were going to stay up for. Next week, school goes back, and they're going to bed when Raw is starting. So they're in for a rough one because Evan has been loving staying up for 6 hours of SummerSlam. For as much as we bellyache about the amount of wrestling going on, from the eyes of a 6-year-old that's got nothing else to do, it's pretty amazing. Could you imagine this amount of wrestling when we were in high school? It would have been great.
I wish I had all this content when I was in high school and really, really wanted it.
Yeah. Now we can't. We don't have time for it. It's almost like we're being taunted.
So I agree. Last night's Raw was, in my opinion, a really good show. There were a few things we were talking about. I have to admit, I've been in meetings all day. I had a full show this morning like you did. I don't remember everything I wanted to talk about, but I remember I enjoyed the show. And I remember thinking that the show last night was a little better than SummerSlam, maybe because it was half the length. But I enjoyed the quality of the show more than I did SummerSlam.
I loved a lot of it. I have a few complaints. I was relieved about a few things. After what you said, comparing Braun Strowman and what would happen if they don't pull the trigger on him soon enough, how he could become Roman Reigns. I don't actually think that's true. But it was nice to see last night when Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman cut that awesome promo and he holds the championship up and then you hear that. Bah! Everybody was happy that this is who's coming out.
So you think what part isn't true?
Well, I thought I'm relieved that Braun Strowman is now looks like he's going to be getting the push towards Brock Lesnar, whether he gets the title or not. I don't think that if they waited on Braun that he would ever get the Roman Reigns treatment. And here's why. And it was proven to me last night. Because I think Roman Reigns has become a bit of a basket case. And we can get into it later if we want. But there were several opportunities for him to ad-lib, to go off script, to say something to the crowd, to give himself more heat, to do well and not just be a background piece when The Miz was out there with Cena and instead he just stood there like a deer in headlights. It's almost like he's been talked to so much. And we joked about air checks in radio and air checked so much that he's now trigger shy. He's afraid to pull the trigger. When they're chanting Undertaker, I have this rule with a sitcom. If I can tell the joke before you do on my TV more than 3 or 4 times, I'm done watching you. You're not funny enough for me. And I could cut the promos Roman Reigns can at this point. They're chanting Undertaker, and he has a mic in his hand. And all he has to say is, he's not coming. I retired him, remember? Or if he's not allowed to say that, he could say, I beat him. I already got rid of him. The booze, the heat he would have created, it would have been amazing. But instead, he just stood there and let Cena take it. It was weird.
Well, you're exactly right about everything you're saying, in my opinion, too. Deer in Headlights was a good way to sum it up last night. To people who are getting nitpicked in radio too much, I think is a fair comparison. Just not comfortable there. And boy, it's really obvious because people are talking about the passing of the torch from Cena to Roman Reigns, because that is clearly the plan, at least the way it seems right now. It really showed you the difference between Roman Reigns and John Cena. And you need Roman Reigns to be on a John Cena level, and he is not.
Yeah, and now I think, and we can go back to Braun and Brock later, since we're on this now. I think that John Cena, and I made a note of this, is actually suffering from the opposite. I think he has so much freedom and he's so comfortable with where he is in life and his career that he thinks everything he says is golden. And he's too freewheeling, loosey-goosey, joke around Cena, and he's not taking anybody like The Miz or Baron Corbin seriously. And in a way, he's hurting them. And I thought that last night. I thought Cena was just way too all over the place, and I didn't like it.
What do you think about him being on Raw? Is this a good move or a bad move?
I think it's a fine move. He done what he needed to do on SmackDown. If you're not going to put him up against Jinder Mahal, I think he likes the Monday night schedule. I think Vince feels like he needs Cena on Raw. I think it helps Vince sleep at night to put him on Raw. It doesn't hurt anybody. You got a 3-hour show. You might as well have your biggest star on there. I'm fine with it. I told you the money match is him and Roman Reigns, but they've got to be able. Reigns has to step it up.
My only thing is, why not have just like a superstar, which I heard was going on, but I guess I haven't seen any signs of a superstar shakeup. It seemed like that would be kind of a natural fit for Cena to jump then. I
just don't like this whole free agent thing. Like he's a free agent, okay, but has he signed with anybody? Because if you're a free agent in the NFL, you're not allowed to just show up 1 week for the Carolina Panthers and then next week play for the Steelers. You have to sign a contract with someone eventually. If we're going to kayfabe rule this, then kayfabe it right.
Yeah, plus there are so many better ways to handle it besides I'm coming back as a free agent and I'm going to whichever show I want. That just doesn't make any sense at all. I agree with you. Kayfabe it properly. That's a good call.
So that's what I thought about that. I thought The Miz did a really good job, as always.
Yeah, agreed. Same with Joe. Joe is still who Joe is supposed to be.
Yeah, I don't know where Joe's going to go from here. I thought that Joe and Reigns would be a good holdover feud, but if they're going to push Reigns and Cena, but they might slow burn that. I don't know what they're doing. I'm okay with all four of those guys being involved with something.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So that was a big story from last night with John Cena's return to Raw. Lots of rumor and innuendo, as another podcast says, about who's going to show up at SmackDown tonight. Are you aware of this?
I am not.
Bobby Roode was at Raw last night. He was backstage, obviously not shown on camera, but it's believed that he's going to be called up either yesterday or today. And since he wasn't called up yesterday, it seems like today will probably be the day. I
guess if I'd thought about it, that makes sense. That's how it works in NXT. When you're the champion, you actually want to lose at a takeover because you know.
Right. That exactly. Yeah. That's when losing the title can be a good thing, which is what happened to him.
I actually felt bad for Asuka, because she didn't lose her title. I was like, oh, well, I guess you're still here then.
You know, with Asuka, if she leaves NXT, they've got a big problem on their hands. as far as the women's division goes.
I think as far as the show goes, I think she's probably one of their biggest stars, male or female.
Oh yeah, for sure. And she's like the surefire should be a main roster level competitor and will be called up eventually. And she's the one. I mean, even more than Bobby Roode, to be honest with you. And I do like Roode. Roode's another guy I've watched. You know, he was on TNA when I was watching TNA, which was for a good few years there. You know, in their heyday, I did like them, and he was a part of that. I do think he'll succeed on the main roster, although you never know anymore.
I do love his entrance. Yeah, I know I do love it. Whenever I hear that song, that should be my ringtone. Like I could wake up to that every morning. Glorious! I won't give in. I won't give in until I'm victorious. No, 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 no. I could do it all day. Tell me that doesn't feel good. Doesn't it feel good? Glorious.
And hey, I'm just going to ask the question that everyone's asking themselves right now. Did you piss yourself?
Let me see. I didn't. This is what happens when I cut the grass. Yeah, I've got serious Nutterooski sweat going on. And this is my second pair of undies because that's what I look like at the gym.
How's the, are you still using that rubber cement deodorant?
Yeah, but it doesn't work when you're cutting grass in 90-degree heat.
I thought you were cutting it yesterday during the eclipse.
I got afraid. I became afraid. I went outside an hour before it started, and I looked up, and I thought I was getting a headache. So I thought that I was going to go blind. So I came inside and took a nap. I slept through the whole thing.
A lot of people reported that. I got to tell you, Jared, we had 99% totality, and it was a real bust out here. A real bust.
Didn't get dark at all, did it?
No. It got weird gray sepia. It almost looked like an Instagram filter, like my co-host Maddie put it this morning. But that was about it. It didn't get dark, wasn't the right word for it, and it was just boring. I did watch it.
It's
I did have
stupid. We're going to have another one in 7 years, and this time the totality, I guess the path goes right through my wife's hometown of Rochester, which is like 30 minutes from Buffalo. And she's like, we'll go then. And I was like, it's not going to be cool. I didn't think it would. I don't want to go blind.
Jared, if you need an excuse, it goes right. Evansville is in the path of totality in 7 years.
There are things that I'm willing to go blind for and things I'm not. The eclipse is not one of them. My grandmother used to tell me an old wives' tale about something that would make me go blind, and I rolled the dice. From the age of about 15 up, I rolled the dice every night a couple times, and I was willing to go blind for that. But this is not something I'm willing. I'm not worried about it.
I was just saying, if you need an excuse in 7 years to not go to Rochester and to come to Evansville, you got it.
Now, can I tell you this? Nice, you got me. Now listen, if I can put your new co-host over for a minute, I don't think I saw any solar eclipse photo that was funnier than her in a welder's mask. I thought that was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, dude, she's been doing great. I'm loving having her. I mean, it's super new still, but I'm nothing but optimistic that she's going to fit in really, really nicely on the show and the station.
Here's the question, though. This is going to determine whether she's going to be a star or not. How's her entrance?
It's glorious.
Glorious! I pissed my pants! I pissed my pants until I'm victorious!
It's glorious performed by a soloist on a violin.
In demon makeup.
So we got what we wanted last night. We touched upon this earlier. I do think the biggest thing to come out of Raw, with the possible exception of John Cena being a part of the show now, went ahead, they pulled the trigger. They're not making us wait for it. Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar, No Mercy. There's that. Let's talk about that first. But I have another point about No Mercy I want to make.
Best news about it, other than the main event that I'm excited for, is the fact that they have 5 weeks to build for it.
That's what I was gonna say. We're more than a month away from a pay-per-view.
That's pretty awesome. Now, does SmackDown have one in there?
I don't think so.
That's great. That's great. Give us a build. Give me a build to a match that I'm excited for. I am so into Braun Strowman. Did you think you would be? I did not. At WrestleMania, if you'd said you'd be chomping at the bit for Braun Strowman's music to hit, I wouldn't have believed you, but I am now.
SummerSlam, dude, was the nail in the coffin. He is over, man. And now is the time. And I'm not saying we gotta throw the strap on him, but let's make sure we handle him with care, we handle him properly, and maybe it is. I mean, it could be the time. I need to see how they build this over the next 5 weeks. I'm not locking in on a Strowman win, but I do think it might be the right time for it.
Yeah, at some point, I never like one thing happens one week, so the next week the opposite has to happen. I don't like that kind of booking. Like if the Hardy Boys are fighting Sheamus and Cesaro, Jeff Hardy beats Sheamus one week, so Cesaro beats Matt Hardy the next. I don't like that. But I wouldn't mind to see Brock Lesnar now find a way to manhandle Braun Strowman a little bit.
Yeah, and it's just that Braun Strowman, even if he gets manhandled next week, he's shown us he's not afraid of Brock, and he has Brock's number, and that's enough. That's all we need for a good Brock feud.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I feel like they wasted vulnerable Brock last year on Goldberg. I wish they hadn't done that, but they did it, so it's too late to complain.
That's a fair complaint too. That makes sense.
But this is good, and I'm way in to Braun Strowman at this point. I just think he's so good, and I think he's taking every opportunity and he's doing something with it.
If I had to lock in today, I'm locking in on Braun. I'm sorry, what was that?
I said I didn't say anything there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Must have had a spotty connection thing going on. I was just saying, if I had to lock in today, I would probably lock in on Braun. But I don't want to lock in today. I want to let this one play out, see where they're going. Betting against Brock is never a safe bet.
I would lock in on Brock today. If we were locking in today and that was like the game we were going to play, I would lock in on Brock Lesnar. But I want Braun Strowman to win.
Yeah, I don't want to play that game though. I want to see this one play out, but I do feel like it could be Braun's time. I'm not positive. It's just the way I feel right now.
I'll tell you whose time it's not.
What was that?
I'll tell you whose time it isn't. It isn't Big Cass's time.
Oh yeah. So let's talk about.
I think that was a big thing that happened on the.
Kind of ragging on the man. I'm sorry for connection problems. I'm really sorry about that. Ragging on the Cass match, and I'm not going to say last night's match was good, but I do think it was a step in the right direction for their feud.
I give it an incomplete. I feel badly for him. I thought it might have been a weird work, but then I saw a video of him getting helped off, and I think he's legit hurt.
He is, yeah, he is hurt, and man, it's a bad time because, first of all, this is when he's really being evaluated as a potential future champion, as a potential guy who can stand on his own, and he's been faltering at that. Not to the point of giving up on him, but to the point where they're certainly questioning that decision, I think. And then this timing for this injury is really bad for Cass and really for Enzo too.
It's bad for Enzo because Enzo got that win last night, and I think Enzo was getting the win anyways. I think Enzo was going to win last night.
Yeah, I do too, and I think that was the right way to do it. Enzo was outsmarting Cass, and seeing Enzo out Braun, for lack of a better term, or overpower Big Cass is not the right way to go here. Having Enzo outsmart and outmaneuver Cass is a whole different thing. Which is
how I just don't understand Enzo in a shark cage with Big Cass taking on Big Show. If you just slow everything down, delay the attacks by 2 weeks, delay the announcement, the betrayal by 2 more weeks. if you push everything just a little bit longer and slow it down just enough, you could have Enzo, Cass, Brooklyn Street Fight at SummerSlam in the Barclays, and that feels better to me.
Absolutely. That's what I wanted them to do the whole time. I thought they wasted it on Great Balls of Fire. And they could have not even just slow it down, not even wait 2 weeks to do everything, but just add the right things. Add, Enzo refusing to accept a challenge from Kaz. And then you have several weeks of Kaz trying to stoop so low, lower and lower every time to do something to get Enzo to fight him. It would have made it so much better.
Yeah, we talk a lot about Vince Russo, and you and I both respect him, and he wrote the Attitude Era. He has some pretty goofball ideas. I was listening to his podcast about SummerSlam, and maybe I'm crazy, but he loved that match. He loved it. He loved Enzo getting out of the cage. He specifically said he loved the baby oil. He loved that as soon as he hit the ring, he got booted in the face. He said, I thought that was a cool way to do it. He loved it all. And I thought it was the worst.
Yeah. So I get that. That's a Russo-like angle. That seems like an angle that Russo would have booked. I didn't think it was probably as bad as you did, but I will say it didn't make a lot of sense. And the match that was going on in the ring was what was bothering me more because they were doing an awful job in the ring. The show became Enzo versus the cage, and that was the better match than Big Show versus Cass.
Yeah. So I just feel bad for Cass now. He's going to go on the shelf, and any little heat he had is going to be gone when he comes back because that looked like an ACL.
And it's also bad. I mean, I think that Cass is one of the very few, if only, Enzo supporters in the back. Apparently, Enzo's heat is red hot, and no one likes him, and everyone wants him gone. And the only friend in the world that he had, in my understanding, was Cass.
You can actually hear it. The announcers, Booker T buries him.
They don't like him. So I don't know what to make of this. I think it's stupid to get rid of him because he's not well liked by the boys.
Because he's well liked by the crowd, and he sells a ton of merch.
Well, and there's that too. But have you heard about the other one who supposedly is on his last legs as far as this stuff goes?
Who?
It's Baron Corbin. And I do know what Enzo did to get his heat. I don't exactly know what Baron did to get hit.
It can't possibly be the Dave Meltzer stuff, right?
What do you mean?
The Dave Meltzer stuff. Like, he got into it on Twitter with Dave Meltzer, and he got into a lot of stuff on Twitter with a few people. He called one guy a loser that ended up being military. He went nuclear on a couple people on Twitter, and one of them was Dave Meltzer.
I'm going to doubt it. That's not going to get him heat with the boys. That might get him heat with the office. But when you got the boys against you, you're in trouble.
He has the boys against him?
Yeah, apparently. I mean, no one more than Enzo, but right behind Enzo is Baron Corbin.
That sucks. Now, but The Miz had that once, didn't he? The Miz had that.
Yeah, and according to JBL on an episode of Bring It to the Table, The Miz is the only guy who's ever recovered in like the history of wrestling from being banned from the locker room and then being welcomed back in. Yeah, so I don't exactly know. And again, I don't know anything. It's just what I read. But I read it enough that I know it's true.
Wow. Well, they're deep down, they're like carnies. It's like this weird fraternity that no matter how much we watch it or how much we study it or think we understand it, we have no idea what's going on back there.
That's very true. So what else was worth talking about? You know what I want to throw out there? I don't know what's happened, and it might be because of the rosters that they're on, and it might be because of any number of things. When Sasha Banks comes out anymore, I am bored. I don't care. And she's lost me.
Even when she comes out as a sexy peacock, I don't really care that much.
Yeah, I like Alexa Bliss. I don't know what's happened that I don't care about any of the the female wrestlers I used to care about. I don't care about Charlotte right now, although I still prefer her. Sasha Banks has lost me completely. I'm really just an Alexa Bliss guy.
Yeah, it's Alexa Bliss, and I'm trying to think who else does it for me. I mean, Lana makes me feel good inside, but not for anything other than looking at her.
She makes you go blind, doesn't she, according to your
She
grandma?
makes me go blind. I'll tell you who's been making me go blind more than any other girl on either roster. Maurice.
Maurice has it going on. There's that. I wouldn't say she's my number one.
Number one.
But Maurice is right up there. I'm trying to think of who my number one might be. I feel like if we're talking about the main roster, Alexa Bliss, if you want to talk about the recent roster, when I watch Total Divas, for me, the one that fires my pistons is Eva Marie.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, the fiery redhead, even if it's fake, it's pretty nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She looks great. So
funny moment from last night's Raw that I'll share with you before we wrap it up is my son can't. Hello. My son Evan cannot. He always calls wrestlers by the wrong names. He still calls it Roman Reigns. I mean, it's turned into Nincy Nakamura. Ninchi. He can't do it. And last night, after the tag match, after Seth and Dean fought the Hardy Boys, he was like, oh, Rob's going to be so upset. Rob's going to be so mad. And I said, why was Rob going to be mad about this? And he said, that's his favorite wrestler, Bret the Hitman Hardy. And I was like, it's not. So he thinks your favorite wrestler of all time is Bret the Hitman Hardy Boys.
Well, you know, I appreciate him trying.
Guess who I get to meet on Friday? I'm going to get him to sign. Well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to have him sign, and then you're going to be able to guess. But I'm going to have him sign a 2x4 for Post to Post.
Is it Hacksaw Jim Duggan?
Heck yeah.
How are you meeting Hacksaw?
He's coming to the State College Spikes game, and I'm working the field. So I'm bringing a 2x4 too. I'm bringing a 2x4 to the field.
This is great. I didn't know this. How'd you not tell me this?
I don't know. I just forgot. I'm a little bummed out because the original deal, they had 3 guys they were talking to. They were talking to Kevin Nash, they were talking to Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and they were talking to Jake the Snake Roberts. And I know he's had his problems, but I would have preferred Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah, either one of those two. I would have preferred Nash. Jake, I know, would be your cup of tea. But I will admit, I hate to say it, Hacksaw's a little bit, you got Nash and Jake up here.
Well, especially since the Williamsport Crosscutters, an hour away, getting Mick Foley.
I've gotten to meet Mick at a fruit. Oh, shoot.
Wait, that's the funniest picture. It ended on you going, oh, shoot.